Good. We should be back. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Oh, you actually got the people on Zoom?
Yeah. Yeah. There's all four of us. One of us being the room itself. Well, that makes 3, 4. Is there one more? 5? So yeah, right. So right. Okay, good. I said 10 is what I said. 10. So we're reaching our threshold.
Yeah. 7 with everyone.
10. Yeah. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. These 2 on Zoom.
6, 7, and then there's the room. The room counts, right?
So
And then all the virtual
that's
people
like
count. The people that are literally recorded in virtual count.
Yeah.
Okay. Which that adds about 20 more.
Yeah.
So good.
Whoever comes to 7.
It's very good. Okay, let's rumble. We're way behind, sort of, but it doesn't really matter. Can everybody hear me on the other end? Because yeah, my mic's on, so you can hear me. So the deal is, Home Movie Day is now become Luther Price Home Movie Day, which I think makes a lot of sense. And I think as we run through everything tonight, it'll become clear what at least I was thinking. But to start, we're gonna the whole series is dedicated to Robert Haller, my ex-partner, business associate, film person, the great Robert Haller. So we're going to show a couple little home movies that Jonas Mekas shot of Robert. The first of which is being his wedding in June of 1980, I believe is the year. And then we're going to follow it with the burial of Maxie Anthology Film Archives cat, which is in I don't know what year it is that, 2007. And then we're going to end with a little love letter that Amy Greenfield, his wife, widow, just recorded a couple weeks ago, or at least John Joe shot it. And I think it makes a nice little intro. What's strange about all this is I have no idea if Robert and Luther knew each other. I somehow doubt it, but at the same time, Luther's films were or are or in the process of being preserved by Anthology Film Archives. There are a number of them. So there had to be a connection, but this was in the last 10 years or so, so it might be when Haller was drifting in and out. So we're going to jump into these about 20 minutes of videos, and I'm sorry to make you wait, and then about that time Tara should be showing up, and then we can all chat, okay? But this is a really fun, not fun, it is fun, but it's a packed evening. There's a lot of stuff. I was able to dig up some interesting Luther stuff. So let me try to make these buttons work without it all blowing up.
Why don't we just use the HDMI?
Yeah, I don't know where that is now.
It's right, well, that's for the DVD player. And I threw it in the box. It's on top of it.
I got it. Now I'll watch over it. It should be working now.
Everest, you're going to lose your job at the Hop. I'm not hearing the sound at all, but you guys say there is sound.
I'm hearing it up there.
Okay.
No, you can't really hear it back there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You had sound before.
All the way up.
Yeah.
Well, that was before the...
I mean, it's set to HDMI,
I
so
know.
why would that do anything?
So there is no adapter that goes to
Huh? No, that's
There's
not.
nothing that'll go to my...
No, there. Projector and have you zoom at the same time. Yeah. So that's why I'm trying to put.
No, I understand. I was just asking the basic question.
The other.
Projector?
Yeah, do it then. I'm also not back now. I'm not in Zoom. Fucking thing, man.
Technology. Is this thing turned on? Yeah. I think it's on. So is that a cool picture?
I can micromanage if we reset me back up again, because I know I can look up here and do the best I can. But I can't go on my screen.
What I'd say is
Because the stuff they.
Okay. Great.
Well, you know what I think it's doing? Being recognizing the
Jackson,
everyone,
make sure the
everyone's
camera's
watching
recording
us
this.
on the side.
It
It is. Well, no, it is
it's
because
recording us.
it's Everest's
Yeah,
computer.
this is the
Yes,
camera.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
it's recording us all staring at
Recording
it.
us freaking
That's what I
out.
meant. This is priceless. This is absolutely great.
It's gonna be really entertaining to look at. Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure it's. Yeah, we caught it, right? Now if I get out of the Zoom again. Oh my God! How do I get out of the Zoom
Just hit
page?
escape.
Escape! Escape! He's trying to escape. Oh my God! What a nightmare. Okay.
All right. What?
Whoa! What the hell is that? That is
It's
not.
showing your screen being shared.
No, this Alpha Fun with Politics. This is what I put
Oh.
on here.
Why?
Do you want to stop sharing your screen?
No, I wanted to show something else.
Gotcha.
Okay, we're going to turn it off, and we're going to fire this up and hope somebody's seeing it somewhere. This is priceless.
Yeah. No, everyone's just watching this.
I am so happy. This is like, couldn't be any better.
It's getting no signal.
There you go. You're getting something now. It's not reading it. But it does work on my test.
Oh yeah, I do
I have to be careful.
Yeah.
I got
Pull it
wrong
like,
hat.
pull it down tight on your page.
That box is Mac. That's really cool.
Max was in many ways the soul of anthology, and I know that we were all going to miss her very much. To Max.
To Max.
So Max.
If someone else wants to say something, please don't hesitate.
Yeah, you do, right? If Max was really fat. Maybe we can put it on ourselves. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. So
Can we do it by hand?
yes, yes, yes. But I have two pieces of good turf here that we can put on top afterwards.
Maxie.
days when, any afternoons when I was totally alone with anthology, except for that. Now lost me.
She was coming in working late too.
Yes. Yes, John knows what that's like to be alone. I was never there at midnight. John was with Max. There are 3 other cats buried back here, so she's not going to be.
Wow, we somehow survived that. Now let's see if we can do the next thing, huh? Let's see what is next here. Let's just make sure we got some kind of something and put this in, and that should be that, and we should be like that.
Should we talk about Chris Wellesby?
Well, we could. We need a little break so I can wind the tape around when I get that far, if I get that creative with it, which I don't think I will after what just went on last week. But yes, let's talk about Chris Wellesby and his film, because it's a really great. First of all, I had a question. We actually at Cine Salon, whenever the Galaxy Suite came out, we played one of the programs. I think there were 2 or 3, if I remember correctly. Is that the way it was, or was there was more than one Galaxy program, correct? Or
Oh
not?
yeah, there were a whole series.
That's what I thought. But it was more. It was how many? Do you remember?
I don't know, because I was in Paris at the time, and Haller came over and showed 2 or 3 programs in Paris, but there were different ones. There were more. I mean, it was depending on which prints he could get when. I remember one of the shows, I was sitting with a friend of mine who's Russian, and she's an artist, and she's very, very intuitive and brilliant. And she'd been a brain surgeon before changing and doing, photography and video. and
Interesting shift.
so he showed the most beautiful films by Jordan Belson and Fishinger and Hillary Harris. And at the end of the program, he introduced the last film that was a dance film, and he talked about how it tied into the theme and everything. And he showed this film by Amy Greenfield. And my friend next to me said, I don't understand. All the films were so amazing and brilliant, but what's this? This is not interesting. And I said, that's his wife. And then she said, it's fantastic. He's blinded by love.
Pip, you just did the most perfect thing, and it's on tape. This will introduce Amy's love letter, which explicates exactly what you just said. This is perfect timing. So, do you mind if we show that instead of Chris's right now, and then we'll... Yeah, come back. Okay, so we'll be back in a second. That was great. Thank you. I don't know if it was on purpose, but that was excellent. Good. Blinded by love. Well, actually, I shouldn't make fun of this. This is very sad, but it's very deep and heartfelt too. Okay, hold on.
Okay, I'm shooting, so you can...
What?
I am shooting now.
Oh.
You can go ahead
Hi,
and start.
I'm Amy Greenfield. Robert Haller and I were married for 41 wonderful years. I just love him so much. I miss him so much. It's like a hunger inside that won't stop. I miss him. and this is a wonderful thing that you're doing, giving a tribute to Robert, and I hope I can contribute some with some personal things and some work things, and thank you so much. We met, our whole marriage and our whole life was intertwined with filmmakers. There were so many filmmakers that Robert helped. He helped filmmakers in the whole field when they did an internet piece on Robert. 1,000 people responded because he has continually helped the filmmakers of all sorts and bring them together from different areas, and I'm so proud of him. I just wish you were here now. I just miss him so much you can't imagine. So we met because he was working as the director of Pittsburgh Filmmakers at the time, and he started something called the Filmmakers Network, where filmmakers would send their work and he would choose who got to be toured around the United States. And so I sent something called Dervish, and he was almost not going to look at it because he said, oh, it's some ethnic dance, and it was not. It's an avant-garde piece on me spinning for 15 minutes while the video is doing various things. It keeps changing light and direction, and it goes until I'm possessed at the end of the film for 15 minutes, and I fall. I can't stand up anymore, and then I stand up, and I spun with a sheet, just a sheet, and me nude, and Robert fell in love with that, and then so he called me, and to tell me, and that's how we started our acquaintance by telephone from Pittsburgh to New York. And then I get a phone call that he wanted to invite me down because he had invited the great filmmaker Howard Hawks to speak and show her his work at filmmakers. And Howard Hawks died in the meantime, and I substituted for Howard Hawks, who had just died. Yes. So that's how Robert and I met. And I went down and I didn't know what I was going to show. And I decided, I had a work in progress called Videotape for a Woman and a Man. And I'll show that. But I needed a different kind of deck that they had. And typical of Robert, he went around the city until he found that deck, and he carried it by hand to where I was going to show the work. And he was always carrying things. The beginning of our relationship was him always carrying things for me. And so I gave this, and that's how we met. And a little while after that, he called and he said he'd like to come to New York and see me there. And there was going to be an opening at the Museum of Holography, and I was making holograms, and Robert was really interested in them because his background, people don't know it, but his background was in physics. And he never, when he went to college, he found that he wasn't made out to be a physicist, and that's when he started getting interested in film and found film. So he was just thrilled to go to the Museum of Holography. And that was our first meeting. It was that date. And it was wonderful with all the holograms. And I have one of the holograms here. Maybe we could get a shot of that later. Yeah.
You can do that.
Okay. So Robert, on the first date, said, I'm going to marry you. And I had just been through a divorce. And nothing could have been further from my mind. And I said, no, this is ridiculous. I don't know you. And he said, no, I am going to marry you. And he said, you're the first woman I've really dated seriously and want to marry. And that is what happened. Robert and our courtship was Robert sending me all the things he received about avant-garde film, and I would get large packages all the time from Robert in the mail, and I read all the things he was interested in, and all the people, and I started to get to know him that way, and finally, here's a picture of us at our wedding. We finally got married. This is at my parents' house.
Higher. Is it your parents' house?
Yes.
Okay.
And we were obviously madly in love, and that was the beginning of our marriage. And we moved to, I was living in Soho. Oh, I remember what happened. I said he'd have to move to New York. Oh, there's things in between that I've forgotten. I said he would have to move to New York or the relationship wouldn't work. And he had wanted to move to New York. And just at that time, Robert started what was called the National Alliance of Media Arts Centers. And they had a meeting. Robert was always bringing the field together, and he brought people from all parts of the field, from Hollywood, from Jonas Mekas and the avant-garde, and they met in Pittsburgh to discuss projects that they could do together. And Robert was the head of that. And at that meeting, Jonas needed someone to help keep anthology film archives alive, and he decided Robert was his man, that he was the head of the field and he was going to do it, and that's what happened. So Robert got this offer from Jonas, so he was able to move to come to New York, and soon our relationship really flowered, and he was able to move to New York, and we lived in Soho, and every night he would stay up late with it was then a typewriter, and he would type things that he was writing. He was writing weekly notes for anthology, the filmmaker's notes, my parents really liked Robert a lot. They got along. That was really terrific, and so I had them meet, and Robert got along with them. And soon we decided on a wedding date. It was June 14th. And next year we got married. And we had a wonderful marriage. And he supported my work so much, I just couldn't have done it without him. There was no way. It was just everything was recognition of what I was able to do, and so that was the core of our marriage. I don't know what else to say. It was just kept going, and it was so wonderful. And soon Anthology got him invited to Europe. And that was a wonderful thing, touring around Europe and showing films by Joseph Cornell. The Anthology has a collection. Joseph Cornell donated his collection of films to Anthology, and Robert toured them around Europe, from Italy, from Bologna to Lithuania, all around to Paris, London, and that was another wonderful high point of what we did together. We did so much together, and we every time he would leave, I would miss him so much, but then he would come back, and now he's with me, but I still am missing him. It's like a hunger. I hunger for him when I'm alone, and he had a hard time at the end of his life. But he kept going. He said, Winston Churchill said, never give up. And he had always been not overweight, but had a little paunch belly on him. But he lost a lot of weight at the end of his life. And his face became so young and so beautiful. It was amazing, this transformation that he would, when he was alive, he would hide the connection that he felt with the filmmakers. He was always, I'll go backwards again, he was always very self-effacing. He would do so many things and not take credit for them. And he just wanted the filmmakers to get all the credit. And they had a dinner that he organized, the whole dinner, and they had gave awards to the people who preserve film all over the film, from MGM, United Pictures, all over, and Jonas, and he spoke, and they had from the avant-garde, from Hollywood. He brought them all together, and that was Robert. He brought people together, just the way he brought me together with him. And this is my love letter to Robert. He was so beautiful, and that beauty shone more and more towards the end of his life. And now he has this wonderful tribute to him that I'm happy I can contribute this love letter to. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Woo! Wow! Hello, hello. We have a guest somewhere hidden in there. No, we don't want to save my life. Okay, good. Is Tara out there somewhere?
Yeah, she's right there.
She's right there? That's not Tara. There's Tara, right there. We're right there. Hello, Tara.
Hi, Tara.
You missed the complete train wreck that just went on. Maybe it'll continue now that you're here. It took us a while to plug all the plugs in. Nice to see you. So here's the deal. We did this little thing about Robert, and now we're going to shift it over to Luther. Like I said, I don't think the two really knew each other at all. But I do know that between 1, 2, 3 of us, we did know Luther in different ways. And so that's really quite great. There's Joseph Shepard hidden back there somewhere. There's Tara with your microphone off. Tara, you're muted. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but unmute, please. And myself. And I guess maybe I should go first because I probably knew Luther the least. Just barely, actually. Oh, wait a minute. I know what I can do. I don't know. How I met, I can tell you exactly when I met Luther. I'm not sure where I am on the screen because I don't see myself, but can you see that?
Move it up a little. There we go.
Oh, how can you tell? What am I missing?
The average screen.
Oh. We have another screen so we can use the other screen because I can't see anything on my fucking screen here. Anyhow, this was a show of that was at the Currier Gallery of Art in 1986 or 7. I don't know. Does it say the year? No, it doesn't, of course. But I think it's 87. And May 7th, the program was. There's no light here, so I'm like a little bit disadvantaged. On Saul. Saul Levine came to the Currier Gallery of Art in Manchester, and with Saul came a young Luther, so like I said, it's 86, 87, and Rich Fedorchak. And both, of course, those two were very young, probably in their early 20s, if not 20-ish. And Luther, who was then Tom, right, I think, had a top hat on, a big Lincoln top hat. And so he was the sweetest person. There were 2 kids. I mean, literally 2 kids. And we ended up having told at his show. There were students. And then we went to this place called the Puritan Restaurant, which is a mainstream middle America,
Puritan's great.
Yeah, steakhouse. Right. Okay. Yeah. Somebody here in the room here has been to the Puritan, so you know what it is.
Yes.
So we're talking about one of the most bizarre set of peoples. I mean, maybe not kind of myself, or maybe Rich Fedorchak too. And then Luther, who, unbeknownst to myself, was pretty bizarre, and of course Saul is very bizarre, and known Saul for years, and that's how I met him. And then later, when I went to Harvard, he was part of the scene, and in particular, he was part of my ex-wife's scene because she was a mass artist, and Joseph knows that, I believe, because they're all friends and stuff. And I think that Luther and her bonded in the jewelry classes and things of that period of undergraduate school. And Luther was always very sweet and nice to me, and that's all I know. But I don't know how much of that was because of my ex-wife or how much of it was because of my little job at Harvard. But the offshoot of all that was, at some point, finally, I premiered, when Luther finished, Me Got No Dog Dog, which was a 2-screen version, like an extended version of Sodom, I guess, but I didn't know that. And it was with 2 projectors, and the offshoot, I was hoping Saul would somehow participate tonight, because the offshoot of that was I basically got thrown out of Harvard, and it was a huge falafel they call it, not falafel, whatever they call it. Yeah, kerfuffle. That was basically about the homophobic thing. This is 94, and Harvard was still extremely homophobic, and the idea of guys fucking each other up was just not their idea of art. And that's pretty much it. I have a very short thing. So if either Tara or Joseph want to chime in, please do, because I think because of our technical problems tonight, there was a whole little introduction that I was going to do, which I think we still can do. We have timing. Yeah, we could. We're still on time. That actually, there's a great piece of Luther speaking online at a talk in California. And it's so great, it's probably the best way for Luther to introduce himself. Because what he does in that talk is, if you know the man, which like half of us here, well, there's 4 or 5 people here too, so it's half the group knows Luther, half doesn't. But it shows you, after our talk the other day, Tara, I was shocked at how that second part of this talk, it's online, shows you Luther for real. Because you have this nice, sweet person, very intelligent, and he slowly descends into madness as he's speaking at the end of this talk. And you see it clear as day. So the things you were sort of alluding to are all there. And it's to his benefit, because that's who he was. Right? That was the man. Are you still muted? You're still muted. Speak up, please.
Here I am, yeah.
Oh, there you are. Okay, you're unmuted. Yeah. So it's your turn now. I'm done. I'm done rambling. My exposure is limited to his art more than the person.
Hi everybody. Happy Home Movie Day.
Yeah.
Not sure you're watching any home movies today, but please do watch home movies, because that's one of my favorite days, and I've been a deep participant of home movie day since 2004, one of the earliest days. So it is a really precious thing. But I think in the spirit of home movie day, I'm glad you're all gathering to watch movies together and eat food and celebrate. I'm sorry I can't be with you.
Well, if you were here an hour ago, I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, it's just there's a hall. I'm in Boston now, but I live in Rochester, so it wasn't gonna work out. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm not sure who's there and how much they know of Luther's work. I do think that's the most important and special way to know Luther, because it's all there. I mean, it's all there. He's in his work so deeply and so honestly and painfully and beautifully and all that. And he had, as an artist, just a innate beauty and ability to speak this dark truth that I think is really important to be speaking in our lives and in the world, any kind of world. But he brought in his work, in his films, his Super 8 films, his performances, and his thing, and everything was really an extension of this reality that he lived in. That was he was just a pure artist as a person. There's no difference and no separation there. So it was a great honor to know him, and to, as difficult as it could be, he wasn't like anyone else, and he could to be his student or to be his friend meant a lot to me. But it also meant, there were you experienced a lot with him, because he had no, it was all there. It was all, he was living in this real world of pain and beauty and sadness and joy. And so I got to know him through his work first before I ever met him. I knew the clown film, and it came to Pittsburgh, where I'm from, which is Robert Holler connection.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it came to Pittsburgh at remember that guy Chris something or other? He did the Thai tours of experimental film. He was from
Yeah.
It was an extension of this that went down in flames, that guy. But there was this man, Chris May was his name, I think, and he ran this artist kind of thing. And anyway, he would bring programs of films around, and I saw Luther Price's Clown film. Is that what it's called? Clown, I think, with the beach.
Theoretically, we're showing it later tonight.
Okay. I'll just say Clown, and from now on, after you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a movie that just, sears a hole right into your eyeballs and into your brain, and you're just like, that film. And then I realized, when I was wanted to go to Mass Art as a graduate student, that Luther Price taught there, and I was just like, what? I was amazed. I just couldn't believe that I was going to have a chance to be a student of that person. So he taught in the spring, and I had gone through some pretty heavy stuff personally in the fall semester. I had this near-death experience with surgery. So when I got to finally take Luther's class, I was on Dilaudid painkillers. These are heavy narcotics, because I had just had a major hysterectomy and I was out of blood, but I took this class anyway. And half of the first of that semester, I was on opioids pretty heavily, which is a great way.
Oh, you fit right in.
And I didn't realize it, but what he did in the classroom was performance. It was a performance. He would come in and do what I think you're going to see if you watch that piece. He would come in and do it a talk, and then he would show a program of films that you'll just, mind-blowing films. The Mass Art collection is great. And then he would just he would go out with spirals for eyes, and he would just be like, gotta go make a movie into the handmade studio. And we were all just ready. We were like, I gotta do that. We didn't tell us how to do anything. He showed us and inspired us through manifestation. And then we were just bubbling as students to go do it. It wasn't about information. It was about experience with Luther. And I was just really grateful to have that experience and cut through into a real primal state. So I was lucky to have that with Luther, yeah. And then it went on and on, but that's where I'll stop.
Wow, that was phenomenal. Jeez Louise. Well, lucky you. You got your degree? Yes.
I made it. I got to be his TA, and my husband became his projectionist when he would show his films in Rochester or in Boston rather. And
you got off the opioids?
Who, Luther?
No, you.
Yeah, no, I never. They cut me off.
Okay.
they cut me off. I never got good at trying to get more, but no. That once I woke up, I had ended up with some films I never would have known or tried to make had it not been for the experience that Luther allowed and inspired. So
yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah. Hey, I'm backtracking slightly, but what's the Pittsburgh? Where in Pittsburgh are you from? Did you grow up there? I mean, is that what you said?
I did not grow up there. I identify as being my spiritual home. I went to college there, and then I I rooted deeply after that, and undergrad. So,
what years? What years
did I go to college?
There, yeah, Pittsburgh.
Oh, when was I there? That would have been 91 to 96.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
And then that's when I got there, around 91. Pittsburgh filmmaker. So anyway, it was I definitely had enough. That's the whole. I knew Robert Holler a little teeny whiny bit, but I was there for Pittsburgh filmmaker.
Well, he was long gone, and it was at the other place in Melwood Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That just helps me personally. I have a question, not to be crude and rude, but Joel, Joseph, do you want to say something? Or is it?
Yeah, actually, I was speaking with recently, really, Laurie McKenna and Saul, and I was talking about, because we saw the films at the Brattle, and we were just kind of like reprocessing things, and I was thinking a lot about how Luther's films were alchemical. There's a lot of hermetic knowledge there, whether he was aware of it or not, but he certainly channeled the process of turning shit into gold, especially because of the medium that he worked with, this idea of decay. I mean, the early films, like Green, you know, he moved past the autobiographical and just kept going, and then he started using found footage as almost like a universal empathy. And I think Luther had a tremendous amount of empathy for the world at large, and for taking basically thing much bigger. And this aspect about it has made me want to write about even like the film Green. Within that, there's all these stages of almost like redemption. I mean, I can see an angel laughing, and that's sort of like this climax that you have to go through all this pain in order to get to this special point of beauty and bliss. And later, all that, you know, the slides and everything really makes you think about matter and think about like what matters and the beauty of just existence itself. But I do see, and I always have for a long time, seen Luther as an artist, but also a magician, and a magician in the way that one manifests something out of nothing in order to attempt to understand why we're here. And I think he struggled with it a bit. But in the end, it really came through, or really comes through every time you see his films. That the materiality of life is so important, but not at the same time, you know, unless you transform it and you put it out and you shine light through it. And you know, the light is the medium. And I don't think he was completely aware of it, but he might have been. You know, I didn't get to hang out with him in the last like 4 or 5 years before he died and left his body. But there were so many conversations I wanted to have with him, and to show him almost like, you know, people say like Marcel really said, "I'm an alchemist," you know, but there are books on it. So I'm thinking about writing some pieces about Luther's films, not necessarily his biographical life, but his films in regards to this hermetic tradition or alchemy and, you know, all that stuff, magic.
Yeah. You know, you've touched on a whole ton of stuff, because I mean, I think everyone here in this room hasn't seen his films, so we're talking like in the dark in many respects.
I've seen Grand, though.
Okay, well, one, but the point is, there's like what, 200 films or something. I mean, it's a lot of material. So what you said is true. These series that he got himself involved with were, God, who knows what they were about. I mean, they might be exactly what you just said. They were a study through something, through windows that he was looking at. I think the best thing we should do now is watch a film, right? Or watch Luther. Actually, let him expound a little bit, because yeah, good. That tape is good, and I'm gonna I'm gonna jump ahead because of the way the evening's going. Everything's cockeyed. I'm gonna jump to the middle of the tape. Or no, I'm not. I'm gonna show the beginning, because we're gonna end up showing an ink blot. But I should warn you. Well, I don't have to warn you. Everybody except for Tara has experienced the nightmare tonight, right? Well, in this tape from California, it's pretty well shot, as you'll see, of him speaking. But the minute the films come on, it goes haywire. And I suspect it's Luther moving the camera in the booth, so you can't get a good picture of the ink blot, as you'll see. And so, just warning you ahead of time, the film still works with all these filters, this crap that you'll see going on. And that's why I'm showing it, because I think that Luther's work is so strong in all the ways you've all said, that it comes across like Jonas used to say, Jonas Mekas would say, when people complained about a print looking terrible, or it wasn't the best print, or this or that, he would go, no, I can't do his thing, but he goes, no, it works. It doesn't matter what the quality of the film is. It works if it's there, and we'll see that in the ink blot. So let me jump over, without hopefully blowing us all up too much, more than I already have, and we'll hear the man himself. I think it's a thing we should do, if I can find the right button. This is from 2010, I believe. It'll say in a minute.
Thanks, Josh. And again, thanks, Steve, for lending his equipment for tonight and co-sponsoring tonight's event. I'm not going to say much. Thanks for the nice introduction. You covered a lot, so I really don't have to recover that, so that's really nice. But we don't, many times I sort of follow up with the same way I work in film by taking a look at tonight's films that I had in two separate boxes, and I decided to sort of rethink tonight's program and sort of organize it in a way that I think might have a good flow to it. The program tonight is going to be hopefully about 44 minutes, so I don't want to eat up too much time, and we're starting pretty much at the time that we should. So just to let you know, all these films are originals. And for the past decade, I've been making 16mm films. Before that, I exclusively worked in Super 8. So this has been a sort of an ongoing body of work that's coming to, I think, a conclusion at this point. I just can feel it. And for the past year, I focused on static images, making small, tiny collages in glass slides, which will include as a sort of element in the screening, not to break it up, but I think to sort of glue it together and sort of have a cohesive connection between what's happening in the films and the slides, and also maybe a direction of something a little bit more object-oriented that might find its way into the films, I've sort of I know my limit when I'm making films, because I know that if you go to a certain point, you can almost make a Frankenstein monster. But through various ways of craft, I think that I can still introduce some of these elements into my new work and still have them be projection-ready films, because as of yet, none of these films are print. They are originals, so this is what you see is what you get. So I just wanted to quickly go over, I don't have any titles on my films, but I just wanted to just run down some titles here. So the first film that will start is Inkblot number 1, followed by Sleep, and then At Twilight. These are all films that were made this past decade. Then we'll look at a carousel of 80 slides, which are going to be about 4 seconds each. Dusty Ricket, which is one film that is part of a series of films where I bury films in my garden, and bury them in the fall and dig them up in the spring. So they oxidize and rot. And so this will be an example of one of those films, which is also an ongoing series, as well as the ink blots, which are my painted films. Then we'll go back to ink blots. I've tried to choose ink blots that have different things going on in them. Followed by Dusty Ricket will be Selminio is Gay. And one of the earlier 16 millimeter films, which is a ribbon series, where I cut the film up like in strips and use double stick tape to sort of like refrigerated magnets, if you can imagine how refrigerated magnets can just change on the refrigerator. So I'm kind of working that way on film. So that's a whole nother series where that will go on, and who knows where that'll take me. So that'll be the final film of the night, and we'll just get started right away, and thank you very much. And after, I will be back to say a few words and maybe have a little Q&A if you are interested in that. So thanks a lot.
Well, I think that encapsulates everything that we were saying before, right?
Wow.
I mean, the thing, I don't know what's going on technically, but it's like the film is trying to escape the screen in our version here. Obviously, it's fixed, but it's everything you said, Joseph, and it's everything you said, Tara, in one film, just one film. And he made lots of them. Yeah. Mind-bending. We're going to show at the end a full-color ink blot. So you'll see the other end of the universe, for those of you who are here. Sorry, you all can't be here.
Sort of continues this sort of like, if you think back to Green and there's like this homage to Mothlight, it's like Luther really embracing this idea of like putting ink on the film and like trusting in that it's going to be.
Yeah. You know, when I was focusing on this to do it and starting to watch and then listen to him talk, it was like he's like every artist. He's like Joseph Cornell. He's like Brakhage. He's like Bruce Conner. He's like Paul Scherr. I mean, it's all these people. And it's not. I mean, Luther's Luther, but it's all these aesthetics poured into one person.
The Luther part is keeping that soundtrack that's sort of also chants. You know, he didn't like say it was going to be silent.
Yeah. No, we're not going to be silent.
Which would be different. Which would be different every time you see it, right? Because it flakes off. You know, it's not a print, so that sound will change over time, and it's like. Yeah.
I had the chance.
I think of Tony Conrad in that respect.
Another person.
Duration.
Yeah. Tara, I'm sorry.
I said I had the chance to project his films, and my husband did too, and they were surprised. I mean, watching Luther's talk was really reminded me of he was such a professional. I mean, I worked with a lot of artists as a curator, and I showed Luther and brought him and did shows, and he was one of the best, most highest level professional to work with. When he had to be there, he showed up and he did his job. I mean, he took it very, very seriously. And the same went with his films. His films were meticulous. These aren't just sloppy, scratchy, whatever. Those slices were checked. They were perfect. They were tight. And he made these films to be shown over and over. I mean, he was very careful about that, but they were surprisingly well made for being, covered in ink and so forth. And they really withstood the test of time. And he was extraordinarily meticulous with his work. I mean, not a sloppy person at all. And I can't believe, I was like, when you turn this on, I was like, are we seriously going to watch it this way? Because but it really, it still is a powerful experience. And can you only imagine what it's like to be, I mean, these are hypnosis films. These take you into a headspace that is very unique, and Brakhage does something like that too, but Luther's is a much different place it takes you.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And following up a little bit on what Joseph said, the soundtracks, even though based on perfs for the most part, and then there's hundreds of variants that go on, they're exquisitely individual and unique, each one. He worked the perfs like no one else that I know of. And we're going to see an example of that. Again, it's going to be in a little crappy quality, but I think it's important to show because it focuses on the sound. I forget the name of it, but it's made up of soundtracks. So maybe we should jump into that quickly rather than not, because the second part of his talk, which I think we really should show, he explicates everything we've been dancing around in detail. So he was very aware of what he was doing. None of this is happening second or third person. It's a direct contact on all these different levels. So do you mind if we watch that? It's a little longer piece because it's 17 minutes, but it really is amazing. Yeah. So we're gonna, let me see if I can find it easily without blowing up everything.
Wow. Sometimes you look at your own work and it's I just said, that last film looked like the strange cousin of that film to me. It was doing its own thing tonight. But, you know, they're all originals, so they do kind of have their own life to them. And I think I was talking about that today, about my belief that objects do have a sort of energy and life. So they do have the capability of changing. I remember every year I would watch The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and every year it would change. It would be different. So, you know, that's why I have no problem with watching the same film that I love over and over and over again, because I'm going to see different things. So I hope the program that I chose with Josh tonight left something with you. And it's a little bit more abstract than I usually go, but I wanted to sort of take that route tonight. You know, tomorrow I'm showing at the ATA, and it's going to be a whole different type of program. So it's much more visceral in a different way, with talking about how images and are collaged together and make up stories in another way. But, you know, the inkblots and the garden films took up a large part of the last part of the decade. I don't know, I just decided I wanted to investigate color. You know, I had been doing a little bit here and there, but, you know, and then I woke up one day and I thought, I need to move on and do something else. Because I think I started the inkblots, I picked them up in 2007, and it's 2012. I think it's time to move on. So that's why I did take a break and make the slides and see where I go. I have no idea, but I like that feeling of not knowing. It's better than knowing, you know, and feeling safe. I like to feel petrified every once in a while. So I'd like to, if anyone would like to ask a question about anything. Hi. Yes. Yes. Hi.
I was curious about the relationship that you see between this work and your earlier work from the 80s that was the hole punches, the Super 8 hole punches with the men, and the much, you know, in terms of content and how you feel that sort of relationship to that earlier work in the 80s that I also know. In fact, I used to rent for my classes. And this work, which has a very different feel. What's
different too. You know, Sodom was made in I started it in 1988 and completed it in 1989. And I actually changed my name to Luther Price because I couldn't make the film under the previous name. He was much too innocent to make films like Sodom. So Tom Rhodes, he made films about birthday cakes and mothers. And Sodom, Luther was thinking about other things. So he had a different cake in mind. No, this has been, you know, I've people who have known me, in faculty that I've studied with as an undergrad at Mass College of Art, you know, they kind of would always ask me the same thing. Do you think you'll ever make anything that's beautiful? You know, because I studied jewelry making for 5 years. And then I moved into large-scale metal making and plastics. But I made the ugliest jewelry you could possibly imagine. You know, it was rusty. And it left things on your fingers and around your neck. And and no precious metals for me. So, you know, I don't know. I guess my goal is to try to find beauty. Maybe that's my next step, and I think I'm kind of moving towards that with just embracing color, maybe. So, but you know, that was a whole different world, and I'm glad that I can just move forward. You know, so yeah, whole different world. I like this world better, you know. Does anybody have a hi?
Were those optical soundtracks, and was that the result of the same process, or like a?
I recycle everything. And I actually, at Cinema Texas back in, I think, 1992 or 1993, they usually give awards out, and I got the no budget award. So I spend nothing on my work because I recycle everything. And I guess I spend money on tape. I love tape. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. Can't leave home without it. So I actually, it was my favorite toy growing up because my parents would ask me, what do you want for Christmas or your birthday? And I'd say tape. So they'd say, what kind of tape? And I'd say, well, masking tape, duct tape, packing tape, scotch tape, double stick tape. I just want tape. So of course my father would go to the surplus store with damaged goods. And you get that roll of tape where you start to pull it off and then it just snags, and you're just spending your lifetime with your fingernails trying to pry that tape. So when I became an adult, I bought high quality tape. I don't scrimp. I do not scrimp on tape. So, what was the question?
The sound during the soundtrack, was that?
I find films that have an optical track. That was this movie with Sal Mineo, who died in the 60s, and it was about this ocean liner that was going to sink. So I took chapters and I made chapters from it. It does have an optical track, and what I would do is either scratch the optical track in some cases, because just like film, it has its own layers, so you can remove the entire thing or just parts of it, or with pins or a razor, just sort of start to make sounds. So I discovered that with different instruments and different ways of working with your hand, even the movement as you're removing the optical track, you can make ripples or scratches or scrapes and different types of sounds, which I'm interested in. So I'm not sure if tonight's examples were the best choices to show all of this stuff. Now I'll admit that I'm second questioning because I did bring a batch and I could have probably shown things in a different way, but there were a lot of similarities where I wanted to go more of a variety. So, but this is something that I've been interested in, and I love what happens to the optical track through debris going through it, or paint or tape, and all these sort of interruptions. And also, in the last film, which was kind of weird, I don't know, it had a mind of its own. It's not that it was completely wrong. I've been invited to faculty in my own school. They'll say, Luther, can you come and show films in my class? And I had this one faculty, and I'm projecting films, and she ran up to the projection booth and she said, stop it, stop. And I said, why? And she said, everything's wrong. It's all wrong. She said, start all over. And I said, no, this is the way they're supposed to be. And she said, no, this is wrong. And I said, no. And she said, anyway, stop the films. Let's do something else. Show us how to make films. So I said, okay, that's weird. And no one ever asked me to do that before. Stop the films. But it's nice that, I'm working with people who, Steve, thank you so much for projecting my films so wonderfully. And we have a trust level. I'm showing originals, so when I'm invited, I know that I can trust these people to take care of my films and not destroy them, and they can trust me not to embarrass them by my films breaking in the projector and causing them why did you ever invite that person? His films are like falling apart in the projector. So hopefully the craftsmanship is important. They have to be made well enough to survive multiple projections in their original state. So So, and again, I forgot your question. I take after my mother like that. She would actually talk to me for hours, and it was my job to keep track of the conversation. Because I knew if I didn't, I'd be in. What do you mean? You don't know what I was talking about? Because I'd have to keep track, and I'd say, okay, it was about, the clown party, or whatever it was. Whenever I can't think of something, I say the clown party. The clown party that happened, the clown party. So, anybody have a question? Another one, or? I know, yes.
Well, I was just wondering if you could, recently I saw your work at the Biennial, and it was a really different experience because it wasn't the first time I'd ever seen your work as a kind of object that was being kind of projected on a loop. And I think that there were kind of examples of that in Calicut as well, where things were much more objectified than they had been in the past, where it's like, we're in a darkened room, kind of subjected to the film and watching it kind of change and mutate right before our eyes. Did you feel like that represented a kind of real shift to you to kind of show more objects recently, or is this? Had you been
with the slide work?
Yeah, the slide work specifically. Yeah, I guess the slide work specifically, the way that it operated within like the museum, which was different than the screening.
Well, I feel very grateful and lucky that I'm being noticed for something that I started off with. I started off in sculpture and installation and performance, and moved into film because it became a medium in which I needed to talk about my domestic past, and I couldn't really, other than there's certain. I went to thrift stores and I would collect objects, like coffee cups that I remembered my mother drinking out of, the same ones, or chintz or curtains, or stuffed animals, or I would just go and collect all this stuff, and then I found myself filming or photographing them with slide film, and I would do that with all my installations. Everything would be recorded with through photography, and all of the performances, all of the installations. So it just made sense that it would move into film from there, where I started to set up vignettes, and once I turned on the camera, everything started to also move. My early work, and say Warm Broth, if you didn't see, the shots were so static that they looked like they were shot out of a magazine, like Better Homes and Gardens from the 50s. But then you'd realize, this is moving. This is just a static shot. So things have changed, and I'm very excited. I did an installation in Boston where I was lucky enough to work with a 4,000 square foot space. I just struck the show 3 days ago, and I worked with 8 multiple projections, and was able to project them very large and work that way. I created a sort of space within the space that was kind of like my studio, and so you could actually see how the process was happening. So I don't know, I'm excited to do more installation and performance work, and whether or not it's, I think film will be part of it. I just think that I'm moving towards I'm seeing greasy wig hair these days, and that has nothing to do with film, does it? I'm seeing greasy wig hair and clown sprinkles. I don't know, but I'm just going to go with it. I have no idea, but it doesn't really have much to do with film. So I don't know. I'm just excited just to move. I don't want to be static. I don't want. I hate to say this, but I don't want to be like William Wegman. And he went to Mass Art, and I remember his old videos, and I loved them. They were hysterical, but he turned into a Hallmark card, and that's awful. That's the worst thing you could do to yourself. So I'm prepared. I want to explore. I want to find out what's next, and right now I'm seeing wig hair and ice cream clown sprinkles, and you can't go wrong with those two things, you know. And I always say that, you know, I didn't receive my my master's degree, and I didn't get a BFA in film. So, oh my God, you know, that's awful. Yeah. But I know what I would do if I got accepted to grad school. I would do my thesis first, the very first day. Get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way, because I don't like this, you know, 2-year stuff where you the first year you're having fun, and then you wake up the first day of school, the second year, and you can't think of anything else except that thesis. You're like, well, I want to do this, but if I do that, then I'm navigating away from my thesis. You know? So I know what I'm going to do, so be prepared. If anybody ever accepts me to graduate school, you have a lot to clean up. Just put it that way, because I'm not even going to tell you what the piece is, but you're going to have to clean up a lot. It has something to do with wig hair, blue gowns, and 2 big, you know, those white plastic buckets filled with feces, just running to the school screaming at the top of my lungs, just splashing every single wall in every single hall. And that's it. Thank you very much. It was nice coming to your school. Where's my degree? Okay, well, thank you so much.
So he delivers. Oh my goodness, it's great. There's another piece online. If you look in the same year, or later that same year, he was at PS1 in MoMA and did a full, big, huge thing like that, but with the multiple projections on the wall and everything, and it's just outrageous. Woo. Okay. So, any parting shots before we take a break and have a drink, and then we'll watch the movies proper on a real projector? Joseph, you have anything?
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce, for doing this. It was wonderful. I've seen some of the interviews there, but the other stuff was sad I didn't see. They're wonderful. Thank you very much for doing this.
Well, thank you for coming. This was. You know, everybody dying, right, exactly. Drinks, everybody have a drink. Everybody dying is a real bummer, but nonetheless, with Luther, it was like part of the plan. So here we are, and he'll live forever with these films, so it's good. Take care, my friend.
There are definite messages there that we can pretty much learn from, for sure, and then here it is.
Yeah, I hope, you know, the big thing that's going on now is... you know, everybody's fighting over his stuff, so to speak. I mean, he was like getting famous in the last 10 years, and what I think's going to happen, unfortunately, is most of the stuff's going to be museumized, and we'll never see it again.
I was thinking about like the later films, and I was thinking about a very famous artist everyone knows about, Anselm Kiefer, in how there's the same kind of attitude about the work, and let it decay and let it change over time on its own.
Yeah, but the problem now is that the stuff that they take, they being the museums, they're going to preserve it and take care of it as pristine as they can, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a reverse thing's going to happen.
You just won't be able to see it.
Yeah, or I mean, it'll be like Bruce Conner. They the Museum of Modern Art bought the chair thing. I forget what it's called, the baby in the chair.
Yeah.
And they basically let it rot in the museum. I mean, hidden away, not on exhibit.
A lot of money to restore it.
Right, but then whatever they came to it recently and spent $1 zillion rebuilding it to try to make it look. So I can't imagine what's going to happen to his stuff when Luther's stuff gets dealt with. And the performance part we'll never see again because it doesn't get captured well on video. It was almost like Tara was saying that there was this magnetism thing that happened in front of him, which we saw a little bit in the interview. But in person, it's a million times stronger, that experience. Say, Livy. We're going to take a little break, and then we're Super 8. We can't show the 8 this way. We're not allowed. We'll get our hands slapped. So we have to sign off. But Alicia, nice seeing you. Everest, really nice seeing you, although you're on the other side of the room. Peace. Peace. Thank you for coming.